Hey everybody, welcome to our January 12th Legacy Ascending Discovery Call. And tonight we're graced once again by Fancy and her incredible knowledge about how to get real estate for a lot less than you might expect, especially when it comes to auctions, but a very specific kind of auction. Tonight she's going to be talking about some of her master programs. For those of you who may not have the interest in doing it all by yourself or learning specifically or going through a bunch of classes, that you want partnership with her in being able to create wealth. We'll just say that. And I'll let her take it away. There's Vanessa coming back again. So as always, the fundamental, it's kind of a good play on words there. It's a good pun. The fundamental part of what we do in building wealth is using other institutions' money, not other people's money, but other institutions' money. You can use other people's money too, but I'd rather just get other people money, and let's use those banks' money who have been defrauding us and our families for the last 120 years. Let's start taking that back. So we have excellent relationships with certain lenders who are able to give us some very attractive interest rates, like 0%, and the Fed keeps raising the interest rates, but we keep getting 0% even here in 2023 for up to 22 months with a 60-day grace period. Upwards of $100,000 is what we've seen so far. The average is around 45, 50,000, depending on your credit. You need to start with the bottom line is a 685 FICO, and that's just in all fairness, don't expect to get $50,000 if you've got a 685. Expect to get 10, 12, 15, maybe 20, which in some of these programs that we've talked about, for those of you who have been with us, can still create an incredible starting point, especially when you don't have interest to pay it back. And you need to, if you do have good credit, and it needs to be clean, not just I have a 685, but there's a bankruptcy on there, or an IRS tax lien, or I've got a 90-day late or something. No, it needs to not have any blemishes, not have too many inquiries. And then what you'll do, and yes, we get asked this all the time, all three credit scores, not just, I got 685 on this one, or I got 660 on this one, 670 on this one, and a 730 here. No, got to have them all. Once you do, go to the3scores.com, and it will do a soft pull on your credit, which means it won't show up. It's not a true inquiry, won't damage it. They'll give you this beautiful report. And then you're going to download a PDF of the scores, which usually means on most browsers, you're going to actually do a print. Instead of sending it to your printer, you're going to send it to a PDF file. And then that you will email to us on our secure email server at funding@legacyascending.com. In the body of that email, you're going to put your name, your address, your phone, last 4 digits of your social. Because it's a secure web or a secure email, we don't get to go look at your PDF. Well, I mean, we don't really want to anyway. But in order for us to make sure that the files get with the right emails and at the lender, just put that stuff in there so we know who you are. And then when the lender responds to us, we know who they're talking about, not just X email. Then we will send it to the lender. We have 72 hours is the guaranteed turnaround, but we usually see turnarounds the same day, not just approved or denied, but a range of funding that will be available to you depending on your corporate or your credit situation with your FICO. And that could mean that by this time tomorrow, you could have access to $50,000. I want each one of you to think about that. Hi, Russell. Yeah, I'm wearing I'm definitely in a jacket here. I know it's bizarre. I'm in Southern California and I'm cold, so something's not right. Something ain't right. Yeah, I want you all to think about this. Linda and Fancy and Omena and Russell and everybody else who's on the call. Just think about that now. You got problems. You've been through the holidays. Now the bills are coming due. You're staring in the face of taxes, some of you. What would happen if all of a sudden, this time tomorrow, you had 50K that you didn't have today? And that 50K, by the way, there's no rules. Now we want to be careful, and we'll show you how to manage it. But you can drop it into crypto, y'all. How many of you are looking at Matic right now? Look at that. How many of you rode this thing up earlier today? I did. Some of y'all did. You can drop it into crypto. Now, don't tell your bank that. You can put it into your churro business. You can put it in your current business. You can do all kinds of stuff. Anything you want, as long as it's profit oriented. Don't go out and buy a new car for yourself. Don't go out and, don't be silly. That's what we're here for. Daz and I are here to help you figure out, what do I do with this 50 grand? But just imagine, what would you do if tomorrow, this time, you had 50 grand? Put it in the chat box. What would you do? The very first thing, please do not say, pay off my debt. No, ma'am. We do not pay off our debt with this money. What's the number one way to pay off? What's the number one way to get rich if you have debt? Put it in the chat box. While you're putting it in the chat box, what you would do with your 50K, go on, put it in the chat box. I'm really looking at y'all. I see you. Put it in there. What would you do with that 50K? Also, what's the quickest and most effective way to create wealth if you have debt? Put that in the chat box. If you have debt, doesn't matter how much, unless you're drowning in it, like you can't make the payments, that's different. But if you got a lot of debt, even some debt, even small debt, what's the number one way to effectively get wealth? Invest in a whole life insurance policy? Well, that's a one way to do it. Yes, and yes, you're on the right road. That is a way to do it. No question about it. What would we call that with respect to the debt? Well, Dazzle will get an e-commerce store. She's got it. Of course, investment in money in Amazon stores and a car dealership. Boom, love it. How would we, if we have a lot of debt, what would we do to make it an effective way to get wealth? Daisy, what is that? I don't know what that means. iPhone for it. Daisy Duke. That was my crush as a kid. What would we do? See, a lot of people go and they get a lot of money, and I'm glad nobody's putting that in here, and they say, oh, I'd pay off all my debt. But that usually ain't the right answer. What else would you do? I got a few folks in here that have said some good things. Invest it, Russell, in what? What would you invest it? Invest in passive income. iPhone, what kind of passive income? Well, we can all, like a lot of people, and I'm glad you're saying that. A lot of people say passive income, I'd invest it, no one would ever dare play Monopoly and never buy anything on the board and never invest anything. Yeah, but it depends on what you invest, right? If you buy the electric company and the utilities, you probably aren't going to win the game. If you buy the railroads, it might help, but you're still going to lose. You got to buy property and double down on it with houses and hotels. What kind of passive income? And if you don't know, it's perfectly legit. Say, I don't really know. And that is another great reason, and we're very glad. Thank you. That's very honest. Very good. Good for you. 90% of people don't admit what you just admitted, which is, I don't know. And please go to our YouTube channel, and Dazzle may put in the chat what our YouTube channel is. And we've got tons of videos on where you might consider investing. Excellent. Anybody else? Yeah, if you know how to trade Forex, if you've got a good strategy and excellent wealth management, futures, and there's another one, all the big Fs, funds, futures, and Forex, then good for you. Right. If you're a trader, that's your risk tolerance, good for you. So with that said, we have again a special guest regarding another place that you can invest, that you can explore. And that's real estate, but not just the real estate where you go buy, a house or an apartment or whatever, and good luck. It's a very specific kind of investment, really on the backs of poor, unfortunate souls, to quote Ursula. But that ain't our problem. It ain't our problem. They didn't pay their taxes, y'all. So we're going to capitalize on it. Why? Because someone's going to. Might as well be us, right? If that's your feeling, put a 1 in the chat box. Somebody's got some bad situation. That's not our fault. We would have helped them if we could, but we don't know them. And now they're here. So we're going to capitalize on it. That's if you're okay with that kind of thing, put a 1 in the chat box. Because somebody's gonna, and might as well be us. Nobody thinks so? It's just me? It's just me, Daz, and Fancy? There's Daz, yeah. Nobody else? Y'all sure you're on the right call? Because if you think about it, that's how everything is. You want to trade? Well, listen, chances are you're going to buy and sell from somebody who's going to lose money. Not always, but somebody's going to lose money where you're winning money. Now, in real estate, you're going to be buying from somebody, ideally, who has some kind of distress. You don't want to be buying from somebody who's selling at max retail prices, do you? Thank you. Yeah, because then you're paying too much. You always want to buy right, as my old mentors said. Buy right. The money you make in your transactions in real estate are made when you buy. So we want to buy from someone who's distressed, who's highly motivated to get rid of the property at a price that's extremely discounted. Is that a benefit to them? Nope. Is it a benefit to you? Yes. But they have other intrinsic benefits, don't they? They're getting rid of the house, and for whatever reason, maybe it's got a foundation problem they can't deal with, but maybe you can. Maybe they're going to go bankrupt if they can't sell the house, but you're going to help them get rid of that asset. So in all things, we have to have a high context. We want to help people as much as we can naturally, but someone, is going to take advantage of these opportunities, and let it be us. We can't help the fact that people didn't pay their taxes, or people forgot to pay their mortgage, or bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. But in our case, we've got Fancy on board here, who's going to show us a very extremely effective way and inexpensive route to get into real estate. One that, if you haven't been on our calls in the last couple of weeks, may shock you, as this is going on every day, all around the United States. And she's going to be bringing some of her examples. If you want to hear how it all works, we've got 2 full videos on our YouTube channel where she explains in detail how it all works. But tonight we're going to kind of take a different tact with it, and she's going to reveal something to you that some of you, even tonight, some of you are going to want to take advantage of, because she only has a very few spots left to do what she's about to tell you she can do. And some of you are going to want to jump in and make 2023 your most profitable year yet. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Fancy.
Thank you, Mark. I hope you guys are excited tonight. I'm for sure excited. Yeah, so like Mark said, if you've already been on the calls, I'm not going to go into a huge discussion about how to do it, but I do kind of want to show you what I did, or what I've been doing, what I continue to do. So yeah, here we go. So again, quick intro. You don't know me, I'm Fancy. You can catch me on my IG. That's my personal business. You can catch me at Deed Leads. Deed Leads, as in deed, and I lead you to the deeds. So I do tax sales, as Mark has already stated. Tax sales is a very niche industry, or niche investment strategy. People kind of hear about it, but they're just like, that's too good to be true. How does this even really work, right? So basically what Mark just said, people do not pay their taxes on their property, same way they don't pay their mortgage. You can even get in trouble if you don't pay your HOA dues. So whatever it is that you're supposed to pay, you need to pay it, because somebody can put a lien on your house. Come get that sucker. So this is really just an affordable way to get property. And so when you purchase these properties, you're just paying the back taxes. You're not paying what's owed on the property, with the mortgage. You're not paying, any other fees or whatever. No, you're just responsible for the back taxes. And of course, I'm oversimplifying it. Of course, you may have some fees you pay to the courthouse for like recording or putting it in your name or whatever. But that's the gist of it. And again, it will be an auction. So it would be nice to get it for that set price that you see it at, but it's an auction, so it's competitive. So it can go up. So you kind of want to have that cushion to be able to bid. So I always say, you and what authority? People are like, well, what type of training do you have or whatever? Like School of Hard Knocks. That's what I did. I literally read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I looked at some of his different investment strategies, and he did a short little blurb on tax sales. And I was like, wait, like Robert Kiyosaki, you're not going to explain really what this is? And no, he didn't. So from there, I kind of just did some research on my own, and that led me to actually doing it live and in person, going to the auctions, doing research on the county websites, and really just figuring out how it's done. That's really the only way you're going to be able to do this. There's not really that many books, classes, courses that teach this, because I know that when I was out there, I had literally, almost nothing. And I didn't get into any courses or whatever until much later after I had purchased. And I really thought that I was just going to hone in on my skills, a little bit better, but it didn't. I'd already knew what I was doing. So yeah, I'm going to show you some examples, that I did tonight. That's why I said I've got receipts. Just to let you know I'm a real person that actually does this. So yeah, so I've already went through the different steps. You can follow it on the YouTube video. I'm going to talk about step 3 though. I'm going to talk about buying a property. So what that looked like for me. So this was one of my properties I got. It was in Cape Coral, Florida. I bought it for $3,900. We're not talking about a lot of money here. And if you even see on this bidding sheet, look how cheaply these are going for. $4,550, $3,967, $3,900. It might be a little small. I'm just reading
What?
out. Crazy, right? This is not a lot of money, right? And these houses are worth 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 and up. You really don't know what you're going to get at an auction. You should know what you're going to get because you should do some research ahead of time. But as far as there being commercial property on here, industrial, agricultural, residential, it's really anything can be. Whoever doesn't pay their taxes, churches, whoever, they're gonna find themselves on this auction. So I purchased this one property. It's called Juanita Place, 3114 Northeast Juanita Place. Bought it for $3,900. And then there again was a couple of fees that I paid to the courthouse: $28 for document fees, $37 for recording fees. Very minuscule, nothing big. And so this was just a little parcel map. So this was some land. I believe this was on a corner lot that I got this one. Yeah, it was right there in the corner. See my little Google man. So everybody wanted this. You can see it's all cleared out. There aren't any trees on there, a couple like bushes or whatever, but basically it's all clear. Just another perspective. So yeah, so this is a settlement statement. Again, showing you that it was at Northeast Juanita Place. And, let me go back. Sorry. This thing's so sensitive. Yeah, so I ended up selling it for $12,500. I don't know if you remember how much I said I got it for. Does anybody remember how much I said I sold it for? Or I bought it for? I'm sorry.
You bought it for $3,900?
I bought it for $3,900.
Boom.
And I sold it for $12,500. This is without me doing anything. I haven't done anything to this property. I haven't even mowed the grass. This is literally, I bought it from an auction and I'm looking for a buyer. Hey, whatever you want to do with it, you do with it. So
How long did that take you to do that?
How long did that take me to do that? It might have took me a little over a year because it was just, I'm just getting up and started.
So for you CPA folks, that's 400% ROI.
Look, I didn't even get to my cute little numbers. Yeah, so it took a little bit, but if you think about how much people make in a year, I'm like, shoot, some people I made half their salary that year for me doing nothing, just clicking buttons on the computer. So again, as I'm kind of going along, I've learned that, don't do the quiet title. That takes a very long time. And I did the quiet title here. So you really want to, go the quickest, fastest route. You want to build up your buyers list, get out some direct mail campaigns, whatever the case may be, and really just get that out there. So the more you do it, the more you have your buyers build up, quicker you can sell it. Again, this property didn't have any trees on it, so people were super hungry for it. So again, if the more stuff that you have going on with it, especially if it's just land, like they have trees, they got to clear it, or if they have critters on there that, are protected species, you might have a little bit more of a wait. But hey, this can be as quick or as not quick as it can be. So bust your butt and get out to marketing or hire a realtor. That's up to you. So yeah, so by the time the fees came out, I believe it was like, a portion of the year, the taxes that came out, some other, fees that went to the title company. That's how much my check was. $10,000. That's what I brought home. $10,680.35 to be exact. What's really crazy though? I bought this, I sold it, and guess what? The people came behind me and did the exact same thing. So as I'm learning and I'm growing, I'm realizing like, oh, I can like actually up this price. So weirdly, they came behind me and sold it for $22,750. So really, I kind of turned $3,900 into 22. Granted, that I didn't see the 22, but y'all see the potential as to how much, you know, ROI you can really get on these properties. And again, they didn't do anything to it. They didn't add anything to it. They didn't add any structures. They just turned around and flipped it. So I was just showing you some quick numbers. So I'm taking my portion of my check at 10,000. I'm subtracting it from my 39.65. I got about $6,834 in profit, just pure profit. 272% return. I don't know what your bank account numbers are doing, but I don't know if they're doing that. So let me give you another example. Get you excited about another one. So this is another one I bought. This is also land. Some people said to do land, it really depends on what you want to do. I just think land, you don't have to do as much, especially if you're a newbie and trying to do something, because again, you don't have to worry about if there's people living in there, so you don't have to evict them. You don't have to board up the property. You don't have to, you know, just do all this extra stuff that, you know, if you had a property on there versus just land. So again, sometimes you may have to mow it or whatever, but I just left it. I left it. So I paid $4,900 for this one. And this was also in Cape Coral. If you don't know, I've been doing a lot of my bidding in Florida because it's online. If you go back and look at the replay, I'll show you exactly where I bid online at. So this was 2304 Northeast 28th Street. And this was also a lot, also cleared out. Didn't have to do anything to it. Just showing you a little bit perspective. It had a couple houses out there. I think there were some like across the street, but I mean, this is a developer's dream. People were like, where do we sign up? We want to put something on there right now. So this one I actually got way more for. Again, same city, just different location. And again, sometimes you can negotiate a little bit with the buyer. Sometimes, you know, they're just like trying to cut you at the knees. So don't, you know, fall into that trap where they're like, well, how much did you pay for it? Don't worry about how much I paid for it. You know how much it's worth, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, let's leave a little meat on the bone for both of us. You know what I'm saying? You get to eat, I get to eat. I just showed you an example where they gave me 12,000 and they still sold it for 22. You're getting your money, you know, so don't let these people undercut you. They do this all the time. So yeah, the contract price was 20,000. I paid how much for it? Anybody? How much did I pay for this one?
36.
That was the first one. How much did I pay for this one?
39.
49. Close. 4,900. The contract price was 20,000. My take home was 18,772. 18,772 and 93 cents for me doing nothing, pressing buttons on the computer. If you can buy shoes or whatever off of eBay and flip them, or, you know, storage facilities and flip clothes, whatever, you can flip property. It's the exact same process, literally. So how much did I make off of this one? So 20,375 minus 4,900 came out with about $15,475. Doubled, smashed my return on this example, 416% return. Anybody excited about that? Yes, throw some ones in the chat if you're excited. I'm not hearing enough excitement. Y'all can come off the mic.
Liddy.
Liddy, that's what I like.
Yes.
That's what I like to hear.
Liddy in the city.
Yeah, so again, I think I might have sold this one in about 7-8 months. So as you're seeing, I'm getting the time down, you know, as far as me flipping it. So again, you just take that money, pump it into another property, flip it again. So that's basically what's going on as far as tax sales are going. It's really just not hard. That's all I can say. It's really not hard. I think that once you really get into it, you'll find that you can. And this is what I'm here for. I'm here to help out. I'm here to coach you in any way that I can.
Hello.
At the
Hey,
moment,
this is Gary in Long Beach, California.
how you doing?
Hey, I'm great. I'm great. So I'm very excited about what I've seen.
Yeah.
I've bought I buy property in Ohio.
Okay.
I have four. So this is a no-brainer for me.
I would
Um,
think so, right?
yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's just a matter of I'm sure you at the end you guys say what needs to happen and what we need to do. So I just want to let you know that I am excited about it and I'm motivated to move on it.
I'm glad you're excited. Look, if you're excited, I bet you're inspiring somebody else's excitement. You know, sometimes we sit in the back of the class and we don't say anything, but we're really excited, but nobody wants to say anything. So thank you for sharing that. I'm excited myself. I mean, I started doing this again, not knowing anything. I read a book. I'm a single mother. I'm at home, literally, like I said, eBaying real estate, you know, at home. I wanted something that I could do at home where I could still be with my kids, that didn't take, you know, a huge amount of time away from them, and that I still had an opportunity to kind of do things for myself. So that's what, you know, I'm working on. I don't know what everybody else is working on, but I mean, how valuable would that be if you kind of just got that time back to yourself?
Yeah, I'm
So
sure everybody platform is different because mine would be I would fix it up and resell it after I fix it up. But I'm sure everybody platform is different depending on our time, what time you have, you know?
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you can flip it, rehab it, gut it out, definitely get way more money. So if you have a relationship with contractors, you know, plumbers, electricians, all that, then yeah, I definitely say go for it. The first property that I got, which was in Georgia, it was mold, you
Yo,
know, what? What?
no,
Oh, I thought that was Mark saying, don't tell him something. I was like, what I do?
might be something up on my dresser, maybe a little bit.
Oh, it might have to mute out. So yeah,
Okay.
the first one I got, it was mold infested. So I had to go in there, gut it, do the mold rehabilitation. That ate up like a lot of money. I had to rip out the cabinets, all the, like, pretty much the whole first level was done. The ceiling had to be repaired because the, you know, it fell in, you know, from all the water damage from upstairs. I think it was a toilet overflowing. And maybe some other, you know, water issues. So yeah, if you have the, you know, DIY skill set to kind of like go for it, I suggest that. And if you are good at delegating, go for that. So yeah, so I talked really fast tonight. I didn't realize how fast I was talking. Yes, I thought I was just doing examples. But let me show you what I am offering. So again, if you're excited about it, I know some of y'all have some experience with real estate. So, you know, if you just want to know how to do this particular form of real estate, I'm going to do a 5-week training, where we're going to do 1-hour weekly training sessions via Zoom. And I'll pretty much walk you through all the steps. Again, I don't want to say that I kind of gave away a lot if you look at the YouTube videos, but it's going to be way more in depth. And I'm really going to hold your hand on how to get you to your first property. So I'll let you have the opportunity to do Q&A. I'll provide you with some basic startup templates and worksheets, like, you know, for instance, you know, a research worksheet. How, what is the zoning like? What is the school? What schools do they attend, or what schools is this property zoned for? I don't know. Give me some comps. Give me 3 examples of comps for this particular neighborhood, so you can really kind of get a feel of how to do this, because again, you're kind of doing everything. You know, you're the realtor, you're the marketer, you're the investor, you're the buyer, the seller, you know, you're all types of things. So if you're interested in that, I would definitely train you on that. So that package is going to start at $2,000. It really is a steal. Again, there's not too many people that do this, but there are a couple of folks, and the folks that do it, I'm telling you, it's way below that. It's really a steal. So if you need even more assistance after that, if you're like, you know what, Fancy, that was cool, but I really need like some additional hand holding. I really need you to show me how to get a property from start to finish. And when I say from start to finish, I'm going to show you that in the training, but in the custom coaching, I'm going to have you actually help you purchase your own property. So not just show you how to do it, but I'm going to say, hey, let's get a property for you, right? So not let's, but you're going to buy your property, and I'm going to say, I'm going to be with you from beginning to end. Okay. So This time you're going to get 7 strategy calls. It's going to be for 1.5 hours. You're going to get some Q&A calls that are 45 minutes. You're going to have full contact with me via email. I'm even going to do an in-person field trip with you. Do an in-person field trip with you. I'm going to come to you. So if you're saying, hey, I want to attend this auction in Mississippi, I'm going to say, hey, let's go for it. And I will walk you to the courthouse and I'll say, this is where they're going to do the auction, and let's figure out what the rules are, and let's just really be prepared. Because I just really feel like a lot of times it's not that we can't do something, we're just scared. And so sometimes just having that little bit of hand holding and say, you can do it, it just takes the fear out of it. And guess what? Once you do that first property, you're going to be good. You're going to be so good. And you're going to be addicted. You're going to be hooked. So I really hope that that's something you're interested in. And then, we'll have an additional thing, and you can get up with Mark, later, or hit up the Legacy Ascending email. But if you're just like, look, I don't want to be trained, I don't want to be coached, that seems like a lot of work, I already have a regular job, I just want to put my money in, I want to make it work, we're going to have an option for you as well. So definitely link up with Mark and get back with him. But basically what we're going to offer is a partnership. We're going to set up a corporate structure for you. You can be as involved or not as involved as you want. You kind of have, that decision to say, hey, yeah, I agree. This is the property that I want to get. Or you can say, you know what? Hey, I trust you guys, do you? So that's definitely something else that we're offering. So if you're offering, or if you're interested in that, link up with him. And I think that's all I got. I was pretty quick tonight, Mark.
You were. It was great. Well, the other nights you were great too. Who's got questions? Let's hear it.
Nancy, do you live in Florida?
I live in Atlanta, actually.
Why did you pick the Florida market?
Why did I pick the Florida market? Because with tax sales, a lot of times you have to go in person to the auction. With Florida, you do not have to go in person. I can literally buy property in my pajamas at home. So they offer the online option. Also, I like how quickly you're able to get the property. So in some places, you have to wait a little while to get your property. So it's called a redemption period. So it might be 30 days, it might be 4 years. In Florida, it's usually about 30 days or so. They claim it's 2 years, but I believe that starts before the tax sale even happens. So every property that I've gotten the deed like in 30 days or less. So that's why I picked Florida. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, Russell.
How many states are like that, would you say?
This one's my favorite. So not too many. If I would say offhand, and again, I haven't bought in all 50 states. If I would say offhand, maybe 5. Perhaps don't have either a long redemption period or don't have a redemption period at all. And some of them are like just in random places, like I want to say Arkansas, maybe. So yeah, there's definitely some shorter time periods or where there's no redemption period, you can get it immediately, but it's definitely not all over. So usually you're going to have to wait a little bit, and that's fine. It's just part of, investing, just like anything else. If you had a money market account or, a CD, you wouldn't say, hey, where's my money? Where's my money? No, you're here to park it for a year and let it do what it does. And then you go back and, get your profits off of that. So same thing with this.
Yep. Gary, what's your question?
Have you bought in Alabama? I have people in Mobile and I have people in Dayton, Ohio. But how does Alabama? Have you ever bought in Alabama?
I've not purchased in Alabama. I want to say I've probably done some research on Alabama. It doesn't give off any alarm bells in my head at the moment as a good or a bad city. But I mean, if it's something that you're interested in, I'd be happy to work with you and customize that for you.
Now the partnership thing, so how does it work? Is it like we go in 50-50 or how does the partnership thing work?
So we're definitely going to get with Mark on that, working out a couple of details, but yeah, it's everybody's going to win. Everybody's going to eat.
Part of what happens is that we structure a corporate situation depending on what state you want to buy in, or states for that matter, and then you and Fancy and whoever else you want to have in that company, basically direct assets, the assets that you've placed into the company, your personal assets. You're going to
Right.
put that into the company. Everybody's going to have whatever say that you want them to have. You get to choose, as long as Fancy can do what she's got to do.
Okay.
And then you can be as involved with it or not as involved with it. So if you want for me, if I wanted to really learn the business, this is probably not the thing to do, because you could take her classes. She's got that $5,000 package. She'll walk you through it. You'll make the purchases yourself, and then that's great. But if you're like, you know what, I want to start building, I'm not sure I really want to learn this, but I definitely want to start building assets, and I want to start cash flowing, or whatever that is you want to do, that's what this is all about. My suggestion, and I was just thinking of this, Fancy, Daz and I have been talking about family generational wealth. And by that, I mean not just you, Gary, but like you, and I'm making up your family for you, you and your
Right.
sister and your brother and your mom and your dad and your cousin and your other cousins, first removed, and all those other people. You all come together and you're like, we want to build wealth for the generations to come. Because if
Right.
it works for the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, because that's all they've been doing, they're like, let's all pool resources. Let's stop this one-on-one kind of thing, because we'll all die that way. Right? The
Right.
Jews do the same thing. I can't make money unless every Jew around me makes money. That's kind of a great way to be, especially when we're talking about management of money. So you're like, some of you are like, I don't have $10,000 and I don't know anybody who does. Yeah, but you know 10 family members who probably have $1,000. And it's the same idea. We create a corporate structure for the family that if you wanted to do a churro car thing, Daz and I talked about that last year, late last year. Here's how you do the churro business as a family. Well, you're going to have a corporate structure. Don't you be doing that, no trust. So you got to have a corporate structure. It's the same idea, except you're adding an extra family member, and that looks like Fancy over there. I'm pointing, she's over here on my screen. She might be over there for you. Maybe here. But you're adding that family member, and this family member happens to be an expert. And what we do is we create an independent contractor agreement, because members and managers can't work as employees in an LLC. That's illegal. You can in an S corp, but nobody should do an S corp doing this kind of thing. So you're going to create an independent contractor agreement with Fancy as a member, that she gets to trade assets, basically, and that the company trusts her to trade the assets. And there's a contract involved and all that other stuff that controls who gets to vote on what gets to be purchased and how much money she has access to at a time. And we just basically build it all out. Everybody agrees, put the stamp on it, bang, she goes to work, and whoever you want to have go to work with her, and that includes the profit sharing side. So, and all that would be put up front before anybody did anything, and we would have a call with all y'all. Here's how we suggest it goes. Here's what Fancy's going to need to be an independent contractor and a person in your company. And we know here's what y'all are going to need. What's your goal? What's your end game? Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 2024? How many houses do we want to clear? How much capital do you think you're going to be able to raise? And in the corporate environment, it's so dope, because the Uniform Commercial Code applies. And as long as everybody's in it together, not like I'm investing your money. No, that's handcuffs by the SEC. SEC so powerful, they just slapped Gemini and Genesis with baloney charges. You guys have been watching the news. It's just like, oh, well, you guys, they're going to do whatever they want. But in a corporate structure, if everybody agrees, and as long as there's been nobody's taking money out of the side, embezzlement and all that nonsense, everything's great and it's clean.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
I'm sorry. All right. So I'm very interested, because I'm already in something like this. It's called The First Birthday Ever. And it's 1,000 of us. No, I'm sorry. It's 1,000 of us that gave $1,000. So we all became our own entity. We became executive producers. So is it kind of exactly what you're saying? You develop your own company. So, and I'm expecting some money from that. So when I get that investment, I want to put in here. So my borderline is, if I pay $5,000 for the class, I'm thinking just to start, I might as well put that $5,000 toward an investment. So that's just, I'm juggling that around in my head if I wanted to do it that way, and then take the class after. You follow me?
Well, it could be. It depends on what you want to do. if you're like my primary goal is to be the dude who buys these properties for the family, then you probably want to start with the class. But if you're like, my primary goal is to start building assets for the family and I'm going to figure it out along the way, then what you're talking about makes more sense.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
And I'm just a bald white guy. I ain't no financial advisor. I may be getting my enrolled agent status here real soon, but right now, this is what I would do if I were you. Not.
Bald white guy, bald black guy.
That's what I'm talking about. Same barber, baby.
Sound like a team. Thank you, Gary.
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, awesome question.
Hopefully that explains also a little bit more of the corporate structuring. There's a lot of things that go with it, but we walked you through all that.
It does.
Same barber. What other questions anybody got? I'm also going to say this, that those other packages, the education packages, those are, these are very stringent. These amount of times are what you get in value. My incorporation classes that are not a part of Legacy Ascending, I have the same thing. Here's how many sessions we're going to have. But there ain't nobody who needed more help than that didn't get it. So like you get done with 4 classes with the incorporation side of things, and you're like, I still need help. Just call me. We're going to work it out. Fancy's the same way. Just call her. We're the whole
I give
purpose.
out information for free now.
She's giving it out for free, y'all. So she's about having everybody walk away. That's why we brought her into Legacy Ascending to help to provide her services to all y'all. She's about everybody's got to win, or nobody's going to win, or she ain't going to do it. So you run aground, and you're like, man, I don't understand. Just call her. Let's be all right. Somebody else had a question.
Yeah, it's Amina. I have a
Hi, Amina.
question. So, hey, everybody. Good evening. So, Fancy, with the partnership that you're discussing, could it very well be like one of the properties you got in terms of that land? So are you saying like there's partnerships? Of course, you're going to incorporate. That's what it sounds like. Like Mark's going to incorporate the business, which makes sense because that's protection for all of us. And then if there was such a thing as one of those properties that was $3,900, are you saying like we would invest in something like that, and then whatever that 20 grand that we get, we split that 20 grand or the 18 grand actually?
Absolutely. Yeah. So whatever, again, however we do the profit sharing in that agreement, however it works out, that's exactly what will happen.
And that's what you put into the minutes of the bylaws of the corporation. And that's another one of the reasons that asset protection with corporations is so great, because there's no probate. If everybody dies, there's no probate in a bad car crash, let's say. No probate, there's no government, there's no trustee. It's all sitting in the company, and the ownership never changes. With a trust, what happens? Well, the stuff goes to the beneficiaries at such a time that everybody passes, or whenever that is. Well, once it goes to the beneficiaries, then they own it. And in many cases, they have to pay tax on it. They got to set it up again. But in a company, nothing changes hands. The only thing that happens is these people who didn't have control, now they do. But everything in the company stays in the same company. There's no government, there's no tax, there's no nothing. So if you say to me, hey, listen, I don't want to actually sell these properties. I want to hold them. We want to turn them into rentals. Then I go, even more reason to incorporate. Here's what you do. You create the company, you put the family in, or whoever you want in there. Fancy joins as well. You have a sunset clause for Fancy, so that once X amount of property or X amount of real estate shows up, then she resigns. And as she resigns, she takes out X amount of the rest of her profits that she was due under her independent contractor agreement. And then the rest of it, the houses stay in the company. Now you can put anybody in and out of the company. The houses stay in the company. Doesn't matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It makes a lot of sense. And what I'm hearing is, because I like pure trust, and I always felt like, those are, I mean, if I was to do a trust, I'd probably do like a pure irrevocable trust for me, so that it's very specific in terms of how I would want assets to go. But what I hear you saying is that, because you're right, they will probably have to pay, depending on what it is, the asset is, they are going to, maybe have to pay some type of a fee. But what I hear you saying is that the board members sort of decide how the property is going to be used, right? And then me as the primary person though, right? of the, like the primary member, board member, I ultimately can say how I want the property to actually be used moving forward, but it can still stay protected within the LLC.
Well,
Doesn't move.
I'm not saying that last part. What I'm not saying is you, the primary. If there is a primary person, we get problems. The IRS
Got it.
starts going, "Ah, men is really just an alter ego of herself trying to
Got it.
avoid taxes." And then
Okay.
bad things happen. But what we do is we stack the deck of the people in control of the company so that no one's going to disagree with you. And it's very, very difficult. We write the bylaws in such a way it's very, very difficult to get rid of somebody. I mean, unless they pass or resign. So as long as you're behaving and not doing something in competition and not
Right.
having a personal bankruptcy, please don't do that, and aren't getting sued or something where the company could be
Right.
potentially involved, everything kind of goes as it's supposed to. I'm going to say this about trust. A lot of people put their properties in trust. Fine. But don't put your rental properties in trust, because a trust is meant for holding assets, not for doing business. And if
Right.
somebody comes out and goes, "Hey, I put my personal house into a trust," and then I say, "Okay, well that's great. Who are the beneficiaries?" You go, "Oh, my kids." "Okay, great. How old are your kids?" 3, 6, and 9. Fine. Why? Because they're living in the house. They're getting value. But then they move out. 19, 21, and 24, whatever that is. They've moved out. Well, who's living in the house? You. Are you the trustee? Yes. We're the beneficiaries. They're not in the house? No. Who's getting benefit? You.
Got it. That's double. Yeah, that's bad.
That's
You
anybody.
can't be both the trustee and the beneficiary.
You sure
Yeah.
can't, especially while the beneficiaries are not getting their value.
Right.
So to me, trusts are great for grandma's set of aprons that she had from 1826, and those things don't have any value, but you want to pass them down to your kids and keep them safe from any prying eyes. But they're not great for grandma's Louis Vuitton bags that are worth $16,000. Those you want to put into a company because they actually have value. Even though they may not be a part of your company, they have value and they add value to the company. Nobody owns them but the company, but everybody gets to control them. And you could even put in the bylaws, well, Judy gets to hold the bags from 2023 to 2024. Sheila gets to have the bags from 24 to 25. And there's like, and you have a little annual meeting under the Augusta rule, where you can get paid for rental of your house tax-free, and the company gets to write it off, for the handbags to switch hands, and grandpa's blunderbusses could switch hands, and the cattle, whatever. I mean, whatever you want. This is what the Carnegies do. This is what the Rockefellers do. When they get together, they don't just get together to play tennis. They're sharing assets. They're writing off their property values. They're doing all this stuff because it's in a company. The trusts hold the stuff that doesn't have a lot of value. Now, of course, they also do trusts with big value, but they also have billions to defend them, which I don't think you do. Maybe you do, and you're just not saying.
A billionaire. Don't be talking for my money, Mark.
All right, I'll let you talk. I'll let you do
my
it.
currency.
My mistake.
No, but I hear you. No, this is really good information. I'm going to be quiet now. Very interested in learning more about what you're saying in terms of putting these assets inside of the business as an LLC, because I have one, like I told you before, and I've not done much with it, but I think I'm going to do another one here in Georgia, the state that I'm in. Me and Fancy are not far from each other.
Yeah.
And so, this is very interesting. I'm interested in working with Fancy to that capacity. I wanted to get that type of clarity. I thought that the LLC would have been a bunch of different people, and then we're like buying the property together, because that sounds more like a part. I mean, it is a partnership. It's a limited liability partnership, is what it is.
That's right.
Sounds like to me. But
well,
yeah,
you don't want to do an LLP. The actual, that is a thing you can do.
because I was going to say I didn't. Yeah, I don't like those. I've researched that. In fact,
wanna
we
do
had when the flower thing was kind of going out, the whole, I don't know, Ponzi, I don't know what the fuck that was, but excuse my language. Anyway, when the flower was out, I was part of a group, and we were looking into we were really kind of like deeply into establishing the LLP. And then I was like, no, if we're having these types of issues and people can't even agree on just this type of stuff, and then things around money, I was like, that's going to be real not nice. And it'll be a headache, because you have to buy people out of their shares within the company. So I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, there's no free lunch, right? There's no free lunch. And an LLP is great if you're trying to create like a firm and levels of liability, levels of taxation, levels of profits. But for real estate, LLCs are great, and the same kind of construction that you're talking about, and I think Gary's talking about, where you've got a lot of people that are disjointed, they all come together. Now, actually, in Gary's case, there may be actually a Title II of the SEC ruling that they have to sign to say that they weren't advertised to, they're unaccredited investors, but they have to do X, Y, and Z so that make sure they're okay with the SEC. You can still do it under an LLC as long as everyone agrees. If everyone agrees and the contracts are clear and everyone has some kind of control to put their assets in, it doesn't have to be a family. I'm just saying, Daz and I think that part of what's missing in real estate and investment is families coming together. And if it works for the 1%ers, why do they want to split us up? Why do they want to say, oh, do it yourself? Because they don't want any competition, yo. Just think about right now, we talked about earlier, $50,000 could be yours tomorrow if you have the credit and you applied. But think about the people in your family, not just their net worth. And I don't mean just the 10 people that you know that are close, your cousins, your first removed, your grandparents. I mean, start at great aunts, they start expanding. And if you had a family meeting and you said, hey, here's some opportunities. What if we could come up with 50 grand? We could buy a house and a half. We talked about the leveling of scaling Fancy's process last week of how you could get one of the 30,000 and a 10,000 and then do that and then do two 30s and a 20 and how you could put it together. But also think about what you might imagine their credit scores are. Because it's not just their capital that they're sitting in the bank. And probably you might want to just leave that alone. What if you show up and you're like, I got 5 people with 780 credit. I'm going to tell you that's probably $250,000 at 0% for 22 months with a 60-day grace period. I can't guarantee it, but I'm going to say you're going to run around 5 times 50,000. You're going to end up there. And Fancy go to work for $250,000, I promise you. She turns some stuff around. She turns some stuff around for you.
Look, I'll even come out of my pajamas and go to work.
Oh, man. Think of that. So that's the kind of thinking we need to get out of the, oh, I don't have enough money. Yeah, you do, but it may not be you. And when we bundle our resources in a corporate structure, ideally one that we don't hire an attorney to set up for us, and then you got to hire them every time you got to figure out something to do. You all know how it works, which is part of what Daz and I want you to know. Here's how it works. Here's the power given back to you. Then you start pulling talent in like Fancy and going, we're gonna leverage this, and you bring Daz in to do Turo, and you bring, now you're like, we're a conglomerate, we're a family conglomerate. We set up a foundation, we do all these other things. That's generational wealth thinking. Don't be afraid of credit, especially if it's 0%. And going, hey, Dave Ramsey says credit's bad. I live 20 minutes from Dave Ramsey's headquarters in Tennessee. That place is massive, massive. I promise you, he didn't buy it on cash. Not all cash. No way. It's bad business. And when he says, oh, you want to, folks, this is not, I defy anyone to find a rich person, Warren Buffett, Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, who did it on their own cash. Not even from the beginning. So we need to change our mindsets, and Fancy's giving us an incredible opportunity to not just go, well, now we know we can incorporate and I can talk to the family, but here's my pitch to them. I'm going to pitch them this, and maybe if you're really nice and don't make her get out of her pajamas, maybe Fancy will make like a 10-minute pitch video that just says, here's the thing, here's what we're going to get, here's what you could possibly receive, and here's the process, so that she can give you all a link and go, here, pitch this to your family. Or pitch this to your friends that are what you're trying to build. How powerful would that be? Would that be valuable to you? Put a 3 in the chat box if that's valuable to you.
Super powerful, Mark. And my dad said something to me in college, and I didn't, this very exact thing you just said, not exact thing, but similar thing what you just said, and I did not get it. He used to always say when I was in college, he's like, start getting your closest friends together, get 10 of you, save like $500, save $1,000, and you all pool your money together. And he was like, if I were you, I'd not just invest it in securities. He's like, but I'd get property. I'd get something, because my father was a sheet metal guy. So he built all of New York City pretty much from the late 70s to when he retired in the mid 2000s. But he kept saying this to me, and he was like, and what you do, he was like, everybody has a common goal. He's like, leave ego out of it. Like, just leave it out. You all just start buying up these. And he was saying back then in the early 90s to me, he says, hey, look into the neighborhoods that are not maybe the nicest neighborhoods, because what's going to happen is those neighborhoods are going to, in the next 5 years, be double, triple what it is, what it is now. And I did not fully, I'm 17, 18 in college. Who the freak?
Gentrification is bad for the people that are there, but it's good for people who are smart enough to get into it early.
Yeah, so I really resonated with the last thing you just said. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Let me give you something else. I don't give gifts anymore for people's birthdays. And some of y'all spend $50, $100, $500 on Christmas and birthdays, $1,000 on stuff that, I'm not talking about little kids. You got to buy them the toys. That's fine. But if they're older than 12, y'all, what value are you really giving them? You talk about generational wealth. Are you smart to give them a new toy truck, or if they cost $85 or a bike? I mean, having a bicycle is important, but like, you know what I mean? Some extra thing. Or are you smart to buy Amazon when it was 85? Are you smart to buy Apple when it was 185? Are you smart to buy stocks that pay dividends every quarter, and then set up stocks that over the course of years pay every month because they're just offset? Pepsi Cola.
Buy a property.
Buy property. Well, property that are rentals. Now that might be more than Johnny's 14th birthday. But if you buy Johnny stock instead of toys, he may not like it that much then. But by the time he's 30, he's going to go, my goodness. How much do y'all think Amazon's going to be worth in 3 years? Today it hit 95. How much do you think it's going to be worth? So start thinking generational wealth. It's the retail people that are keeping us poor. Oh, buy more stuff. All right, y'all. There, I'm off my soapbox now. Sorry, I got a little excited. Fancy, anything else that they should know? Any other place they should contact? And Daz, if you'll put in the YouTube link one more time into the chat box.
Yeah, I'll drop my...
Yeah, Omena, that's right.
You can get at my email.
I need to start reinvesting. I had some investments, and then I moved to this state, and I lost my job, and I was living off of all of the the investments of my security. I mean, I still have a few left, but I said that when she said that to me too, I heard her, and I was like, yeah, one, we don't celebrate the holidays like that, but we do Kwanzaa, and there is Ujima, which is cooperative economics. And I think that's a good thing to do for the young ones to just kind of like, and even now, just not just for the holidays, but like birthdays even, doing that type of a thing. So I will look back into that.
What better day to give stocks in on Independence Day?
Right.
Stop paying. I love fireworks. I don't know if I can ever stop. I used to do $500. I'd buy the biggest thing, and we would just go for 3 hours and blow this stuff up. But dude, imagine if for 10 years, that's $5,000. How much if I was like, hey, here's some stock, and I use the proceeds from the company, proceeds from the property in our family company to buy them, and the company owns those stocks, but they're in your name.
Oh, dope. That can happen?
Yeah, dude. Why take it if you don't need it right now? Leave it in the company.
The company, dang.
Just assign it, right? You can say, oh, these stocks are for Fancy, and these stocks are for Linda, and these stocks are for Samantha. And they're earmarked.
My God. That's awesome.
You say whatever you want.
I'm cheesing. Let me just come on camera so you can see my freaking Chester cat smile.
There it is. Look at that. Cheshire cat. Woo. Pretty.
And she's cheesing, Gary's cheesing. Look,
Yep. I know a good thing when I see it, when I hear it.
That's good.
Gary, we may be on the same team, brother, when it's time to invest, because I have to just do some more wealth building. I'm getting my credit together. I really am. I'm like looking
Right.
into how I can be a part of a trade line or something to get my credit back up. But it's getting there. That's the only reason why I actually was working with Dazzle Mark. And so
Doing the
we're
exact same thing. Doing the exact same thing here. Yeah.
Because sometimes the most important thing you can do is not make more money. It's fix your credit and reduce expenses. I did a video last week on the Saturday morning call that I do on how powerful reducing expenses can be. Because if you're in the lie of compounding, oh, I'm compounding my interest. No, you're not. You're paying tax, and everything that you buy that you can't deduct, you pay 35% more. And if you're in California, you're paying 40% more because of the tax. So we want to deduct everything, and that leads us back into the corporate structure situation, which I don't have time. We're at it. We're way over time, y'all. Love to chat with you more. Reach out to Daz and I. It's here. I'm going to put up our thing here one more time. Did that just go in there? Good, Linda. I'm glad. Oh wait, no, I'm hitting everything wrong here. So you can just reach out. You can even reach out at funding if you want. Just be like, hey, I got a question. I want to talk to Daz. I want to talk to Mark. I want to talk to Fancy. I want to talk about Turo. Whatever it is. You know, it doesn't have to be. We have a lot of emails, but that'll go there. It'll be secure anyway. If you got the funding capability, please do not hesitate. I mean, we don't expect these programs to go away, but we don't know. So once you get funding, they can't take it away from you. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Good deal.
Thank you, Fancy. Let's give Fancy our love for being with us here for 3 weeks in a row.
Thank you, Fancy.
yes, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fancy.
Thank you for all my guests that showed up. I hope you reach out
Blessings.
to me.
thank you.
All right, y'all. Have a
Sister,
great
sister,
weekend.
I'll send you the replay, sister. No problem.
Yep, I'm gonna put it. It'll be up on the YouTube channel by tonight, so don't worry.
Okay.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Peace and
Good
blessing,
night.
everyone.
Talk soon.
Thank you. I'll see you next Thursday, 8 o'clock. 8 p.m.
All righty.
Peace and blessing, everyone.
Hey.